In Chapter 1, we have a problem that deals with the scientific method. And this problem, on page 20, number 14, says we need to identify the observation, theory, and law contained in the statements. So when we look at this, let's first identify the observation. So for our first observation, let's first of all get the definition of what an observation is. This is something that can be witnessed and recorded. So as I read through these statements, the first statement says, every time we let go of something, it falls to the ground. That is not something we can observe and record. That's just a general statement. The second statement says, for example, when an apple breaks from the branch of a tree, it falls to the ground. So if we were going to identify this statement here, this is one that we can actually observe and record, that when an apple breaks from a branch of a tree, it falls to the ground. So that is our observation. Now looking at the same statement again, let's identify the theory. All right? And what a theory is going to be, it's an attempt to explain why nature behaves in a certain way. It's this why that really matters in this one. So in the first statement, let's look at this, read it. Every time we let go of something heavy, it falls to the ground. That doesn't say anything about why it happens. Next sentence, for example, when an apple breaks from a branch of a tree, it falls to the ground. That doesn't say why either. But the last sentence says, this happens because the apples are attracted to the earth. This is an attempt to explain why that occurs. So the theory is actually the last sentence, explaining why. And let's identify the law that are out of these statements. Now when we look at law, a law tells what happens. It's basically a summary of the observed behavior. So being summarized, the first sentence says, every time we let go of something heavy, it falls to the ground. That turns out to be a summary of what happens whenever we let go of something heavy. An example of that is actually an apple. Now that turns out to be an observation, right? The apple falling. But the summary of the observations is that every time we let go of something heavy, it falls to the ground. And that is the answer to what is the law.